Howdy, folks. I'm melodramatic morning cloak, morosely mourning missed meals.
I'm Amber.
And here are more missed meals for us to mourn away, but it turned out that I was just Reddit today. So let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Refusing to Share a Room with My Situationship on a Group Trip, even though it makes the Airbnb more expensive for everyone? Okay, so I'm part of a big group of friends. There's 7 of us. Me, a 21-year-old female, Jessie, a 21-year-old female, Bree, a 21-year-old female, Julia, a 22-year-old female, and 3 guys. Chase, Mike, and Jay, all 21-year-old males. We're all planning on going on a 3-day vacation together. We've been looking at Airbnbs, which is obviously expensive AF. Here's how it breaks down. Jessie and Chase are dating, so they are sharing a room. That leaves 5 of us. Now, Mike and I do have something going on. We flirt, we hook up a few times, and we cuddle here and there, but we're not together. Now everyone is pushing for Mike and I to share a room too, since Jessie and Chase are. They're trying to book a 5-bedroom Airbnb, which would cost about $200 per person for 3 nights. If we go with a 6-bedroom, they found, so that I can have my own room, it jumps up to $450 to $500 per person. They're saying that if I don't want to share with Mike, that I should cover the difference. Like it's my fault that the trip would be more expensive. To make things worse, Mike has no issue with sharing, so now it looks like I'm the only one making it difficult. They've literally said, you and Mike sleep together all the time, so why are you making a big deal out of it now? And I get that they think that it's no different, but it is. There is a difference between choosing to sleep over versus being locked in a shared room for 3 nights in a row on a trip where everyone might want their own space. Like, yes, maybe Mike and I would end up in the same bed one night, but I want the option not to. I want to be able to go to sleep alone if I feel like it. That's not asking for anything special. That's basic comfort and boundaries. They're calling me selfish and saying that I'm messing up the vibe, but honestly, I feel like I'm just setting a responsible boundary. I'm not asking for anything more than anyone else. I just don't want to be the only one forced to compromise my space or pay extra for it. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. If those other people want to save money, they can opt to room with each other. If that's
Yeah.
and OP says that no, that they refuse because they want their own space. Well, OP wants her own space too. Like
Yeah.
just because even if OP were in a relationship with Mike, that she wouldn't necessarily have to share the room with him. Some people just want more space, but they're not even a couple. They're just kind of a situationship-ish type thing.
Yeah, and OP has stated in the comments that they are willing to sleep in the same room as the girls, just not necessarily Mike every single night. And so, to me, this just feels like the OP is offering a really solid compromise here for one of the girls to sleep with her instead in the same room, right? And so, I don't know why they aren't saying, well, that's a fine solution. We'll do
Because
that.
they want their own space. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is like you can't expect someone else to take a situation you wouldn't take yourself.
Well, I think that's fair, and I think that they are putting an unfair burden on OP just because they've slept with someone before doesn't mean they should be forced to sleep with someone again, right? That's not how consent works. That's not how consent works at all. And, if OP doesn't want to be in the same bed as Mike, then, maybe Mike can go sleep with one of the other guys, or one of the other girls can pair up, or any number of things. Why can't all the girls pair up and all the guys pair up, and then they can save even more money, right? So I think that if they push this, then OP should make those suggestions saying, well, if we looked into a 2-bedroom Airbnb where all the girls and all the guys shared a room, then, we would get down to even cheaper. So maybe we should do that instead, right? And like, oh, but it's not fair. I'm willing to, do this thing where where we spend, even less money per person, $100 per person. So maybe you all should cover the difference for what I'm willing to spend, type of thing, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Wary Scientist says, not the jerk, it makes more sense for 2 girls and 2 guys to share. And gasp, now you guys can get a 4-bedroom for even less. And OP replies, I don't mind sharing with any of the girls, but everyone wants their own room, besides Jessie and Chase. But they expect Mike and I to share. And Wise Rest 814 says, you just said that you wanted your own space, and now you don't mind sharing with one of the girls. Which is it? Lol, you're still not the jerk. And OP replies, everyone else wants their own room besides Jesse and Chase, since they're a couple. So who am I exactly supposed to share with besides Mike? It's not like I'm refusing to share just to be difficult. There's literally no one else to pair me up with, so the only fair option is to book a place where everyone gets their own room, since that's what everyone else is doing. And Samael13 says you're doing this wrong. The cost of the Airbnb shouldn't be per person, it should be per bedroom. People share a room pay less than people getting their own room. If there's 7 of you and the B&B costs $1,400, it shouldn't be $200 per person, it should be $280 per bedroom. People who share a bedroom pay $140. People who get their own bedroom pay $280. I guarantee that you won't have any trouble finding someone else who wants to bunk with Mike if you do it that way. Heck, you could just adjust it slightly so the shared rooms are $340, $170 each, and the unshared rooms are $240 each if the former seems too lopsided. The point is that the shared rooms should cost less per person than the unshared rooms. If you don't want to share a room with Mike, offer the room to one of the other folks who isn't currently sharing a room and tell them that you're fine with getting a 5-bedroom, but you're not interested in having a roommate. So either someone takes the couch or someone else shares a room. Also, the thing is that I kind of feel like the reason why Mike isn't objecting to this is because he has no incentive to reject this type of situation, which is kind of slimy a little bit.
Well, that's the thing is like if they usually just share a bed when they're hooking up and OP doesn't want to hook up with him every night, like that could make for a very awkward situation.
Yeah. So I feel like Mike shouldn't even get a say in this matter because like if he feels like he's personally benefiting from this in some way, right? Gratifying way, then like that's just kind of a gross and creepy type of perspective to have, right?
Yeah, well, he shouldn't be able to unilaterally decide for the both of them. Like he should obviously be able to say yes or no whether he'd be comfortable with it, but
Yeah.
he shouldn't be pressuring OP.
Exactly. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Let My Wife Name Our Baby After Her Favorite Ex? I'm a 32-year-old male, and my wife, a 31-year-old female, is 8 months pregnant with our daughter. She told me a few weeks ago that she wants to name her baby Elia. I didn't love the name, but I didn't hate it either. Then she casually mentioned that it was the name of someone that she had dated in college for 3 years, and that it was always her favorite name because of how gentle he was. Excuse me? She swears that it has nothing to do with him, and that it's just a beautiful name, but it gives me a weird feeling giving our kid a name of a guy who used to see my wife naked. Then I said no, and she accused me of being insecure and controlling. I said that she could pick any other name, just not her ex's. She has been cold to me ever since. My sister is saying that it's a red flag and that I'm absolutely right to draw the line here. My wife's best friend says that I'm being irrational and that names don't have to mean anything. Am I the jerk for saying absolutely not? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. This feels creepy, especially with that comment about how he was so gentle. Like, it's a very weird thing to want to name your child, and I'm wondering how this is going to affect how she sees the child. Is she going to see him as like an extension of her ex?
Names are a 2-yes thing. It doesn't matter what his reasons are or not. OP doesn't like this name. They get to say no. It doesn't matter what that reasoning is here. Now, the underlying whole, this is the name of my ex, I do think that kind of adds an extra layer of double no, right? Like he can have a double no here if he really wants to be like, no and no thank you. I do not want our child named after your ex. Doesn't matter how gentle he was with you. I just find that a little off-putting, especially knowing that, and that's going to affect how I see our child every single time I see our child and have to call them by their name, right? Because I mean, how is that not going to impact you, right? Like, oh, by the way, you're named after my wife's, your mother's ex.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like I think it could affect how both parents see the child, and not necessarily in good ways.
No, yeah. I just think it's a fundamentally bad idea here. Now, if it had been a name like Elo or whatever it is, and it was shared with a relative or something like that, then there might have been a different argument for that, right? Because then she could be like, well, I wanted to name it after this relative, blah, blah, blah. And if it turned out then that it also is the name of an ex, then I think there could be some room for discussion at that point in time and say, well, I'm not naming it after the ex, I'm naming it after this relative. It's just that they happen to have the same name.
Right, but it's still fine to veto a name.
Yeah.
So if it still makes Opie uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that he should still have the option to veto it. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Competitive Advanced 92 says, baby names are a 2-yes situation. Also, babies should have their own name with no baggage. And Zamara Sweet says, and she's being mad disrespectful for trying to do that in the first place. And Fuzzy Laugh 1117 says, the fact that OP's wife even has a Verret X in itself is ridiculous and a little weird. OP has every reason in the book to absolutely disagree with this ludicrous idea. OP is definitely not the jerk, but I am wondering about his wife. I wonder if he was the one who got away or something like that.
I mean, it could very well be the case.
And that she still has like a place for him, a little ember burning in her heart for him, right? OP is the second choice.
Lousy way to find that out.
And My Dirty Alt 79 says, she doesn't just happen to like the name, she likes the name specifically because it's tied to this guy. Not the jerk, it's off the table. And Shadow for Summer says, yep, if she wants to name the baby after her ex, she can go have a baby with him. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk Because I Told My Wife That Her Hobby Was Childish? My wife has been really into what seemed to be called cozy coloring for several months, and she's been into more silly hobbies, stickers, bead painting, etc., which is totally fine. But she at least used to do more adult-like art. Still just coloring, but at least the designs were intricate with a lot of different details and line work. So you could tell that it looked like it took some effort and thought. But now all she cares about are these kitty books. Goofy looking cartoon animals having tea parties, a bear having a picnic, a duck in a hot air balloon, etc. Come on now, every night she's excited to show me whatever new drawings she's finished, even though it's really not that exciting or impressive. Usually I smile and nod, but this has become her primary hobby now. Every night after dinner, she goes into our room and colors like a kid. Finally, last night, after she showed me her latest project, I said, don't you think that you're a little too old for this? She looked offended and said that a lot of adults color. I said that's fair, but the stuff that you used to color was relatively interesting and mature. But this is something more suited for our 5-year-old daughter, not a grown woman. She got mad and said that I was being a jerk and that the cute, simple books made her more happy. That's fine, I guess. I just wish my wife had more adult hobbies instead of coloring. Am I really being the jerk for that? Edit, people are asking me what my hobbies are, and I'm into coding and programming, and I'm also a vivacious reader. Mainly books on computers, economics, and World War II. I might play a game of basketball on the weekends. Alright folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP, you're a major jerk. It gives your wife joy and relaxation, and that's kind of what hobbies are meant to do. They're not meant to be like things that you take super seriously. They're something to unwind and enjoy yourself with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she can color whatever coloring book she wants in. Plain and simple.
I have literal children's coloring books that I color sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and again, this is how she wants to spend her time. It's not hurting anyone. It's not hurting him. And she just wants to, show off the stuff that she's coloring. I think it's pretty hurtful to tell her that she's just too old for this or something like that. It's a form of self-expression no matter what. It's still art. She can draw and color in these cartoons however she wants.
Yeah, well, and stop trying to make adulthood so boring. Like, you get to be an adult. The promise is you get to make your own decisions now, but so many people get stuck into, oh, well, I can't do this because I'm too old. Like, there's nothing wrong. You're not hurting anyone by coloring in a coloring book with cutesy animals.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. You're the jerk like it's your full-time job. I mean, I guess OP is a professional jerk here. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
How might a lumberjack pose a question?
Oh, well, they might use a hatchet.
let me ask you something.
Oh, of course.
And it's Paul Bunyan Day.
So make sure to go find a statue of Paul Bunyan and show him who's who by chopping him down.
No, don't do that. It's also National Pride Prom Day, and it's the Bangor Pride Parade, so I think it's pretty fitting that that's falling on Paul Bunyan Day this year.
Yes. And I have a licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Spectacular Saturday, folks. I hope your Saturday is off to a spectacular start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on unreasonable partners.
If your partner's hobbies aren't harming anyone or taking them away from their responsibilities, then don't police them.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!